Hey guys, I'm going to be explaining to you the testing strategy to use on your teacher certification test. Thomas is here with me tonight, and he's actually studying for the ESL certification test. So I'm going to teach him the strategy tonight and walk you guys through some strategies for English, science, social studies, and math. So here we go. All right, so we're going to look at number 6. So go ahead and read it and then read your answer choices.
When selecting vocabulary from magazine or newspaper articles used in instruction, which of the following methods is most effective? A. Selecting vocabulary based on the teacher's experience from previous years of instruction. B. Asking students to identify words for further study when they read an article for the first time. C. Using newspapers and magazines specifically made for school use with bolded vocabulary terms. Or D, cross-referencing articles taught in class with district vocabulary lists to identify keywords.
Okay, so the most important thing is to break down the question and look at the keywords. Now, usually in a gen ed classroom, we don't talk about keywords, especially when preparing for the STAR test for math and stuff like this. But when we're taking a test for ourselves as teachers, the best thing we can do is actually look at those keywords and see what the question is asking us. Probably 80% of the test is just figuring out what we're looking at and what the question is asking us. So most important part right now is to highlight vocabulary because we're looking at vocabulary. So he's gonna highlight that for me. And then also most effective. When we see that at the end, we know that the choices they're going to give us are all effective choices, but they're wanting to know what is most effective. So they all could be possibilities, and here's where it's tricking us. I just realized I need to turn the camera like this. So here's where it's going to trick us. So let's look at option 1 and see if that's appropriate as a most effective method. So will you read that again for us?
Selecting vocabulary based on the teacher's experience from previous years of instruction.
So to me, that one does not make sense because it's talking about a whole different group of students from the prior year and it may not be relevant to your current class. Now, using strategies from your prior experience would make sense, but in this case, it's not relevant to the classroom that you're in currently. So that one would be not correct. Okay, let's look at B.
Asking students to identify words for further study when they read an article for the first time.
So this is actually a potential option because it's student-led. It's them identifying words they may or may not know, and then it's relevant to the student as well. So I would put a star or asterisk by this one and then keep going and looking at the other options.
C. Using newspapers and magazines specifically made for school use with bolded vocabulary terms.
So again, when we're talking about the most important or most effective thing, we know that this would actually be effective, but is it most effective? Do we have access to school-specific magazines and newspapers, and is it actually relevant to the students' day-to-day lives? This would not be an option because the school can't purchase these materials all the time. So I'd go ahead and cross this one out. And then let's look at D.
Cross-referencing articles taught in class with district vocabulary lists to identify keywords.
So this is where I would get tricked up because the district we currently teach in is very focused on word walls and key terms and the most common vocabulary list. But in a perfect world, which is what TEA is talking about right now, we would not put our kids in a box of what vocabulary they should and shouldn't know. So this would also be a not correct answer because it limits, it's not student-led and it limits the knowledge that the students could learn. So the correct answer here would be B.